Hello again and welcome to another Mage Tower guide. This time we're going to be going over the Shadow Priest. So as always, we're going to start off with our consumables. We're going to need flasks of the Whispered Pact, potions of prolonged power, haste food of some sort, and drums of fury or the mountain. Either one, they are the same thing. Moving on to talents. This is kind of just a normal setup for Shadow Priests in single target, but I'll still kind of go through the talents and why I chose them. So Twist of Fate is just a really good talent in general, but especially in this fight, when you're killing off targets, it's really important to do that quickly, especially for the burn phase at the end. Mania versus Body and Soul is probably the only one that can really go either way. I went with Mania because it is easier to use, and Body of Soul, you do have to be using your Power Word Shield a lot more often to get benefit out of it, which isn't necessarily like hard or anything like that, but you are getting your speed in bursts, which is really good for a gap widener, which is why you'd be using this, so you can then get off some hard cast spells before you keep running, because kiting is going to be a big part of this challenge. However, I felt that Mania gave you enough value, as I never felt like I was really hampered by using this over Body and Soul, because I did try it both ways, and it just felt easier to use. When you are at 100 Mania, or at just anything above 50, you do feel like it's more than enough to keep your distance from Karam while you're kiting him. So honestly, either of these are viable. Pick which one feels best for your style of play. Moving on, Mind Bomb is your only choice in this tier, as if you just keep it as a fear, your dots will break your fear too quickly and you won't be able to get enough value out of it. Moving on, Lingering Insanity is just the best pick here. The other two don't fit for this particular situation with this talent setup. In the next tier, Auspicious Spirits is really good, as it allows those Shadow Word Pain crits to get even more damage out there. That's one more thing you can do while moving and you don't have to think about it. Mindbender is really good here, as it reduces that cooldown to 1 minute, and it also comes with extra insanity generation. So it's really good for getting out a little bit of extra burst and allowing you to get that more often. And then finally, Legacy of the Void, which is kind of our only choice here, as Shadow Crash only provides more AoE, which is not something that we really need for this, and Surrender to Madness, which is its own different build entirely. Now, if you do want to try a Surrender to Madness build, you can do that, and there are other guides out there if you want to try that, but as someone who is not very well versed in Shadow Priest, I went with something a lot more stable and something a lot easier to do. So if you are looking for more of an extra challenge on top of things and want to play more of the meta of Shadow Priest, then go for it. But I'm fairly new to Shadow, and I did a lot of learning while I was doing this challenge, so that wasn't really for me. So that was my talent setup, so let's go over the things we're going to be seeing in this fight before we get into the kill video. So the first person we're going to be fighting in this encounter is Karam Mage Spear. He will begin chasing you around the room, so you'll need to make sure that you're kiting him at all times. If he catches up to you, he will cast Rising Dragon on you, which will kick you up into the air and deal a lot of damage. However, this will not kill you as long as you're close to max health, so keep that in mind. Once he reaches 34%, he will cast Purgatory on himself and become immune to all damage. He will then start slowly healing himself back up to around 68%. During this time, you will be switching over to Wraced Mage Spear, who will then start casting Shadow Bolts at you, which will do essentially no damage. He will also summon 3 shadowy fiends surrounded by shadowy vestiges that you'll then have to kite for the rest of the fight as well. Once Karam reaches that 68% health, which takes about 40 seconds, he will begin chasing you again, and you'll have to deal with one additional thing, which is a Hand from Beyond. This will spawn directly behind wherever Karam currently is, and then start casting Grasp from Beyond. This will need to be interrupted, or you'll have to use Dispersion to deal with the damage. Once you get Karam back down to 34% again, you will be able to enter the final phase, which will be switching back to Wraced and dealing all of your damage to him as fast as you can to try to kill him. There will be one extra thing in this phase, which is a Rune of Summoning. He will throw this out, and you'll need to be standing in it when it detonates. So make sure you find it on the ground and go over to it and stand in it at least before it goes off, otherwise it will summon a Thing of Nightmare, and that will pretty much lead to a wipe. So that's a loose description of what we're going to be seeing and how the fight works, so here is the actual kill. Okay, so right off the bat you'll see where I'm positioned. I'm on the other side of the platform as far away as I can be from him, so I'm setting myself up to do as much damage as I can from range where I don't have to be worrying about kiting him, where I can just kind of sit here and do as much damage as I can. And then also I'm already ready to start moving backwards and start kiting in this direction. So here we go, we get my first void form and start moving backwards. Now you'll notice the tentacles that will spawn. If you haven't played Shadow, basically those can spawn every time you cast Mind Flay, and they also duplicate the effect of Mind Flay in the fact that they put a slow on Karam, which is really, really important to being able to get some of your hard cast spells off. So you see them every once in a while spawn. You really want to be trying to get these to happen as often as you can without messing up your rotation. So don't go overboard with trying to force these to happen. But whenever you get some distance where you can get an extra cast in of Mind Flay, do it, because the slow with this is really, really, really good. So you'll see what I'm going to be doing here in just a second. I'm not getting another slow here as much as I really want one. So what I'm going to do is do this contingency. I'm going to back myself up into this pillar, so just in case he kicks me, which he does, I have a way to make sure I don't fall off the platform. So that's a kind of a risky strat, but it kind of also shows you that it won't kill you and you can put yourself in a position where getting kicked really doesn't matter, as you will heal yourself up naturally with Vampiric Touch. So there's the first Purgatory, and now we're going to be trying to pump in as much damage onto Raced as we can, because he does not recover health between the phases, and the more health we can chop away from him now, the less we're going to have to deal with later on in the fight. So here you can see the shadowy fiends are spawning with their vestiges, and we're just going to try to clump these together. So what I'm going to do is just kind of slowly start kiting these guys around Raced, and I want to finish at Karam right as he finishes his Purgatory. And now the reason why I want to do it like this is it allows me to clump all of these up. So here we go, Purgatory's done. I'm going to kite Karam back into the vestiges. I get this nice little clump here, and I'm going to do this nice little turn, use my Mind Bomb, and stun all of them. And now I can immediately start on the Hand from Beyond, and now I'm only having to worry about kiting one big group, essentially. So it just makes it a lot easier to deal with. You don't have to worry about positioning nearly as much, and it makes getting to the hands a lot easier as well. So once the first hand is dead, and I just use silence on that one, if I didn't really say that, but I just used silence on that one and then killed it. So I have dispersion for the next one. So it's kind of in a weird position for me. I was kind of a little bit further away than I wanted to, and I kind of cut this corner just a little bit too much, which is fine. Again, I used dispersion for this one, and I immediately cancel dispersion because dispersion lasts a good amount of time, and we don't need it lasting for that long. So as soon as dispersion has done its thing, as soon as it's basically allowed you to survive the Grasp from Beyond, go ahead and cancel it and finish it off. So now I'm going back onto Raced as Karam is now in Purgatory. This is where I'm going to pop Hero as soon as I have like a good position to do it, and start pouring in all of my damage into Raced to try to finish off this fight. This is the only Rune of Summoning that I got, and it was in a really good location as well. And also having all those vestiges together makes this a lot easier as far as positioning goes with the runes as well. So there is my one rune, got plenty of space to stand on it, and now I'm just going to try to finish burning down Raced. Now I'm also, because of my positioning, really far away from Karam, so I don't even really have to worry about him at the end here. It's basically just the vestiges and killing off Raced. I get that one more Hand from Beyond to spawn, but I was doing enough damage that I didn't have to worry about it. If you do get to that point and you don't have enough damage, just make sure you're in range that you can at least get the silence off, and then go right back onto Raced and try to force finish it from there. That's pretty much the fight. It's a lot going on at once, especially with the kiting. If you're not really good at kiting, this one can kind of be a nightmare. But honestly, this was a really good way for me to learn Shadow, as I've never really played it before this, and I learned a lot about Shadow as I did this. I went from a class that I wasn't really sure how it worked to kind of understanding it and kind of really liking it, and liking all the different things you can do with it. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that this was helpful to you. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I will see you guys next time.